Okay, hi everyone. This is my AT demonstration, and I'm going to be talking about mind mapping. So mind mapping is a helpful and creative way for students to manipulate, learn, and study information. It was originally developed in the 1970s and was done using paper, pencil, but now we have a plethora of software available for students to use mind mapping both on their computers and various devices. So I'm going to show you how to create a mind map using the product MindMeister, which I chose for this demonstration. I talk about some other products in the paper, but this was just the one I wanted to choose. So this is the homepage here. And MindMeister is a cloud-based software, which means that you can save your mind maps on your MindMeister account and then access them from various devices. So if you create it on your computer, you'd be able to pull up and study it on your phone, your iPad, that sort of thing, and from anywhere. You can also share your maps with others. So a teacher might make one and share with their students, or students can work collaboratively and work on mind maps together. So to create a mind map, you're going to, so I'm going to open a new one here. And this is just how it starts. It says my new mind map. The way that a mind map works is you have a central idea in the center, and then you have ideas radiating from that center idea by branches. And the ideas you get into more detail, kind of the farther out you go. So for my example, I wanted to pick something that I could imagine the students I work with using. So I work with medical students, and there's so many different things that they're learning that I think mind mapping would be helpful for. Right now, they're going into their neuroscience block, so I chose the brain. Okay, so what I'm going to do there is I insert brain into the center. That's the middle of my map, and it's going to build out from there. You'll see here on the right side, there's a lot of different colors, so I can individualize, change the font, change the size, color, formatting, all sorts of things. Make it look different. I like the blue. And you can add images, files, videos. Here there's little icons. With mind mapping, they really like you to make it colorful, make it individualized, creative. That adds to the learning. And so there's many options there. So we'll get back to that later a little bit. I'll explain. But we'll start with the main idea, and then you take and start working on your branches. And so anatomy is a branch that students will certainly have to learn when it comes to the brain. So that would be sort of my secondary, the first branch that comes out. But then I'm going to add some sub branches to that. So I know the cerebellum is a part of the brain. I know the cerebral cortex and the brain stem. These are all structure or part of anatomy. And right now it looks like, oh, they're one after another. But what you do is you drag and make sure that these are connected to anatomy. And it kind of creates this tiered list. And I'm sure that list would be a lot longer if I knew the brain better, but I don't. And so students can outline there. You can change the color, you can make it look fancy. We'll add some blue here. Those are different parts of the anatomy. Then I can add another branch. So I also need to learn about the function of the brain. So I know that there's different lobes in the brain that pertain to the functionality. So the hippocampus is one. We know the amygdala is another, and the parietal lobe, spelled incorrectly. There we go. And again, I want to make sure I drag them so that it's branches from the branch, right? And then what's cool is, again, let me format so it looks uniform. Students will have different ways they prefer it to look. You can even bring out from that branch. So I know the hippocampus is involved in learning, it's involved in memory, and it's involved in spatial navigation. And then again, there's kind of a little drag and drop process, making sure it falls under hippocampus. And so then here you see it's already growing. And the idea is that even though we're not using a ton of learns, we're really building out this concept, including a lot of information. So then we'll go back to the main topic. What's another area? Students really need to learn the pathology. Where is the disease? Where can things kind of go wrong? So under pathology, we'll say stroke, we'll say tumor, and we'll say dementia. And again, it's just kind of dragging these pieces, making sure they fall under the correct spot. There we go. And then what I want to show you here, which is cool, I won't get too much more into the brain because I know we don't all need that. Pharmacology, there's different drugs that doctors may prescribe for different conditions of the brain. Steroids is one, anticoagulants, and opioids. And again, I pull them over to make sure that they're under the right thing. But what's cool here, so first I'm going to pull all these, make sure the formatting, again, we like it to look uniform. But what's neat is, so I know anticoagulants are a drug that's associated with stroke. And so what I can do is create that association there using this tool. And students can do that. They might know and be able to point to different drugs and then how they can affect certain diseases. And those are kind of the cool things you can do here. You really can make it as, in depth and as creative as you want. What I wish I could show you, but I can't because it's only a function of the paid for product, which isn't terribly expensive, but it wouldn't let me buy per month. It was making me do a whole annual fee, so I didn't do it. But with the paid subscription of MindMeister, you'd be able to input images. So here where it says brain, I could have a really cool picture of the brain and input it there. They have some available that you can see like this. Look at that. And that's pretty cool. You have the image of the brain, and then it just adds a whole different, there we go. It adds to the whole look of the mind map. You can get really interesting here. I would imagine if I added, depending on what images of the brain are available, again, you'll have ones where they have specific lobes available. And so I can use this image here. And then I might be able to use some of the associations and tie it over so that it points to the part of the brain that we're looking at. What I love about that is that you're really getting into those connections that can be made, and we're going beyond just using words to learn. So we can change all the colors, like I said. It really lets students get creative. And what I love most is that mind mapping really does work in a universal design perspective. And so, of course, there's groups of students with disabilities this might benefit more. For example, students with dyslexia or dysgraphia, where reading and writing really aren't the strengths, and there's a struggle there. This allows visuals to kind of take over. We're more succinct in the words we're using, but we're still really building out complex concepts. Mind mapping has also been found to be helpful for students with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, as well as students on the autism spectrum. And so those are a few groups, but really there's cognitive science that speaks to mind mapping as an integrative and positive approach for all students in terms of long-term memory and deep learning. And so I love that about it, that it's something that, anyone really could benefit from. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I know it's a little bit tough. Technology is always a struggle for me, but I found that this MindMeister software was pretty accessible. I think, again, when you have the upgraded version, there's a little bit more bells and whistles that you can do with it to really make it look cool. And I think students, younger folks than me, would even have a better time demonstrating some of that. But I think this was a good introduction to mind mapping as a technology, and I'm excited to try to use it and to share it with students. So I hope you all enjoyed it too. Thank you.